How to build a winter survival shelter in your living room. Hook. If the heat goes out in winter, most people make the same mistake. They try to survive in the whole house instead of building one smaller, warmer space inside it. But with nothing more than blankets, chairs, bedding, and basic household items, you can create a winter survival shelter right in your living room and hold in far more heat than people expect. In this video, I'll show you how to build that shelter, why it works, and how to make an ordinary room dramatically more survivable during a cold weather outage. Intro. Welcome back to the Mountain Home channel. This is for the budget-conscious prepper, the family in a normal house, and the person who wants practical cold weather preparedness without spending a fortune on gear they may never use. Today we're talking about one of the most useful low-cost winter survival ideas you can have for a power outage: building a microclimate shelter inside the home. Not outside. Not a snow cave. Not a fantasy bug-out setup. A living room shelter made from common household materials that helps trap warmth where people actually need it. This is not a replacement for emergency services in a life-threatening situation, and it is not permission to use unsafe heat sources indoors. But it is a practical strategy for conserving warmth, reducing exposure, and buying time when the house is getting colder and you need a better system fast. Challenge. The challenge during a winter outage is not only the outside temperature. The challenge is the amount of heat you are losing to the space around you. A house can become a giant heat sink. Big rooms, stairwells, windows, cold floors, high ceilings, and drafts all pull warmth away from you. Even if you have blankets, winter clothes, or a limited backup heat source, you can still feel miserable because you are trying to stay warm in too much open air. That is why so many people struggle through cold outages even when they technically have supplies. They are fighting the whole structure instead of controlling one zone inside it. The goal is not to make the whole house comfortable. The goal is to create one insulated living area where body heat, bedding, clothing, barriers, and any safe warmth you have can work together instead of being wasted. Mistake. The biggest mistake is assuming that simply adding more blankets to normal life is enough. People stay on the couch in a large room. They keep walking through the house. They leave windows exposed. They try to sleep in separate bedrooms. They do not control drafts. They do not insulate the floor. And they never build a smaller internal shelter where warmth can accumulate. That is where the indoor winter shelter changes the equation. Instead of asking, "How do I stay warm in this house?" you ask, "How do I build a warmer zone inside this house?" That one shift in thinking can save energy, improve comfort, and reduce risk. Lesson: why the living room shelter works. So why does a blanket and chair shelter work so well? First, it reduces the air volume around people. Second, it traps body heat more effectively. Third, it cuts down on exposure to moving cold air. Fourth, it allows your bedding and clothing to perform better because they are no longer fighting the full room. And fifth, it creates one predictable place for sleeping, lighting, snacks, water, and essential supplies, which means fewer unnecessary trips into colder areas of the home. The reason this works is simple physics, not gimmicks. Warmth that would normally disperse into open space gets held closer to the body. Blankets and barriers create dead air layers. Floor insulation slows heat loss downward. Consolidating people increases shared warmth. And suddenly ordinary household items start doing much more real work. Application: how to build it. Let's walk through the living room winter survival shelter step by step. Step 1. Choose the right location. Your shelter should go in the part of the home that is safest, easiest to control, and most practical for a prolonged stay. A living room often works because it has space for multiple people, access to basic supplies, and enough furniture to help build structure. But the best space is not always the biggest room. It is the room you can manage most efficiently. Ideally, you want to avoid draft-heavy areas and direct traffic routes. If possible, choose a room you can partially isolate from the rest of the house by shutting interior doors nearby. Step 2. Reduce the room before you build the shelter. Close doors to unused spaces. Cover or reduce obvious drafts at windows and door bottoms using towels, blankets, or other temporary blockers. If the room is huge, use furniture or temporary barriers to shrink the active zone before you even start the shelter. The shelter works best when it is built inside a room that is already being controlled. Step 3. Build the structure. You do not need special hardware. Chairs, couches, small tables, and other stable furniture can create the frame. The idea is simple: make a low enclosed canopy that creates a smaller air pocket around the people using it. Drape blankets, comforters, quilts, or other heavy coverings over the frame so the shelter hangs down far enough to trap warmth while still allowing safe airflow and visibility. Do not make it huge. Bigger is not better here. Just make it large enough for the people who need to sleep or sit inside it comfortably. Step 4. Insulate underneath. This is the step many people forget. Cold floors steal heat constantly. Rugs, folded blankets, foam pads, camping pads, couch cushions, spare mattresses, and layered bedding under the body make a major difference. In a cold outage, what is under you matters almost as much as what is over you. Step 5. Layer the inside. Once the shell is up, make the inside livable. Add blankets, sleeping bags, pillows, hats, socks, and dry base layers. Keep a flashlight or lantern within reach. Put water, snacks, medications, and a charged power bank nearby so you are not leaving the shelter constantly. Step 6. Use shared body heat intelligently. One person alone in a large cold room gets cold fast. Several people inside a smaller insulated shelter help warm the air volume around them. This is one reason family consolidation during an outage works so much better than everyone trying to tough it out separately in different bedrooms. Step 7. If you have a safe room heating method, use it to support the room, not replace the shelter logic. The shelter is the core system. Any safe supplemental room heat is a bonus. Do not depend on unsafe improvised indoor heating. Carbon monoxide and fire risk can be more dangerous than cold. Use only equipment designed for the intended environment and follow safety guidance carefully. What to watch out for? There are several mistakes that can ruin a good indoor shelter plan. 1. Making the shelter too large. 2. Forgetting floor insulation. 3. Leaving gaps where drafts pour through. 4. Setting it up too late, after people are already very cold. 5. Forcing people to keep exiting for basic supplies. 6. Assuming the shelter replaces warm clothing and bedding. This is not magic. It is a system. The shelter works best when it is part of an overall cold weather plan. What to keep inside the shelter? If you are building a living room winter shelter for a real outage, keep the support items inside or immediately beside it. Blankets, sleeping bags, wool socks, hats, gloves if needed, water, easy snacks, headlamps or lanterns, a power bank, essential medication, a thermometer. Basic hygiene supplies. Something for morale, especially if children are involved. That last point matters more than people think. Long cold nights feel longer when people are uncomfortable, bored, and anxious. A controlled shelter space helps physically, but it also helps emotionally because it turns chaos into a plan. Why this beats trying to heat the whole house? A lot of people instinctively want to solve a winter outage by restoring normal. They want the whole house warm again. But in a real outage, especially on a budget, survival is usually about concentration, not restoration. Concentrate people. Concentrate bedding. Concentrate supplies. Concentrate warmth. A living room shelter is powerful because it takes that principle and makes it practical with things most households already own. That is why an indoor shelter can sometimes maintain a dramatically warmer lived-in zone while the rest of the house keeps dropping. You are no longer trying to win against the entire structure. You are defending one smaller controlled environment. Realistic expectations. Now keep realistic expectations. This kind of shelter is not luxury. It is not a permanent solution. It is not a substitute for evacuation if conditions become unsafe. But for many families, it can be the difference between a miserable, dangerous cold night and a manageable one. And because it is low cost, fast to assemble, and based on ordinary materials, it is one of the most accessible preparedness systems you can practice before you ever need it. Conclusion. So if you want to build a winter survival shelter in your living room, focus on the fundamentals, choose the right room, reduce the active space, build a small enclosed canopy with stable furniture and blankets, insulate underneath, layer the inside, consolidate people and supplies, and use any safe support heat intelligently. Do not try to outheat the whole house. Outthink it. That is the lesson here. Better systems beat bigger assumptions. And when the power goes out in winter, a simple indoor microclimate shelter can give you more protection than a pile of random gear with no plan behind it. CTA. Prepare for anything. Visit https://preparedpathways.com for expert tips, guides, and resources to build your emergency food supply today. Get your emergency survival kit here, https://shorturl.it/1lnpr. If you want more practical preparedness solutions built for real homes, real budgets, and real-world conditions, stay with the Mountain Home channel.